Welcome to the ExoDexa podcast. I am Dr. Leah Hanes, and I am here with my co-author and co-founder of ExoDexa, Nolan Bushnell, who needs very little introduction, but let me just mention Pong and Atari and Chuck E. Cheese to get us started. Nolan, where did the interest in education come from?
It really came from I've got 8 children, and I think it also came from this sort of deep dive. I get curious about things, and as I started getting older, the idea of Alzheimer's and dementia and all that is kind of out there. And I decided that I wanted to get old, but I didn't want to get dumb. And so I did a lot of stuff, and what that did is it illustrated to me that if you're talking about learning and brain health and all things educational, that we are doing it all wrong. That school is broken, and not just a little bit, right? Really a lot, and so it became clear to me that I had in my tool chest something that was really important, and that's games. And it turns out that games are a very good way to put context into something that, uh, so when it comes to doing good for the world, I thought this could be something that I'd like to anchor my life on.
Awesome. I think that, you at this point are known as the godfather of the video game world, and I think you're well poised to take a role very similar in education. And I have to say that I expected a much more, I guess, a much more difficult response to our book from educators. And I've been pleasantly surprised. And it shouldn't surprise us that the people on the inside know that this is not working, that we're pushing a rock up a hill and it keeps sliding back down. We're not ranking where we should be given how much we spend on education. Our kids aren't as engaged. They're not going to school because they want to or they can't wait to get back to what they were working on. They're going because they have to, because it's mandated. And I would like to see that switch. And I what you said about games is so crucial. Like meeting kids where they are. And what do kids want to do when they have free time? They play games, whether it's video games or games in the schoolyard or games in the neighborhood. They want to play games. And why can't we put education into the games that they're playing?
And games also provide context, and all of us, no matter what we do, in the back of our mind is the question, why? Why do I need to learn this? Why do I need to do this thing? Why should I why should I go to school? And and I think too, we are on the thresh of some big changes. And and I think that fixing education, I don't want to sound too dramatic, may be a key to allowing society. I think there's going to be some massive disruption in the next 5 to 10 years.
I think
And
you have to repeat that, Nolan, because you sort of froze up when you said that there are some big changes coming, and you think society, and then you broke up, and we didn't hear what society should be.
yeah, I think that there's massive changes. Fixing education may be critical to the survival of the species. That sounds a little dramatic, but
But but if we don't do something to educate the next generation in a way that helps them become problem solvers and critical thinkers, then we're not doing them. I mean, the point you made earlier about curiosity, that you were a very still are a very curious person. You ask a lot of questions. You're interested in a lot of different things. That's not something we're instilling in students currently. We're for so many students, the pressure to prepare for the test takes away from the experience of learning, the joy of learning, and learning in context. I mean, that's another thing that you and I have discussed at length and included in the book is like being able to educate children based on their interests,
Yeah.
finding, instead of batching kids by age, batch them by interest and have different levels within the interest. So you have a novice, the novice might be 16 and the expert might be 10, but that they're coming to this topic with whatever experience and research and reading they've done to get there. And and that's not something that's available currently in the education sector, in part because it wasn't really possible until the last few years. And moving forward with the assistance of AI and the ability to research and put lesson plans together in a matter of seconds, as opposed to having to do the research and putting the lesson plan together over the course of weeks when teachers are already overwhelmed. Like I can't imagine 30 12-year olds in my charge from 8 till 3 in the afternoon and not being exhausted when it's over, because that's just a lot of energy in the room that you're both absorbing and managing. So,
Well, there's also this whole idea of disruption, you know. Um, we really should not have disruption. And in some ways, I don't know why it hasn't been more of a crucible or a society should be experimenting with various things to become number one. And if are we complacent? Are we okay with the fact that America is 45th and down somewhere horribly? Um, that just should piss everybody off.
yeah. And it should scare us. How do you remain relevant in an international market and world
Yeah.
if if you can't keep up? I mean, the idea of teaching kids through their interest, like if you're a baseball fanatic and you're 10 years old, you can learn a lot about math and physics through baseball. And then the kid is interested in why or they're really into automobiles. Well, you can teach them all of these other disciplines and through their main interest. And it's not a burden to the teacher the way it was a decade ago or even 2, 3 years ago. It wasn't as simple as it is now.
Well, I think also um, we need to give praise where praise is due. And it's very clear to me anyway that the remarkable spring forward that the United States had after the Second World War can be attributed to the GI Bill and the fact that we had as many people getting useful college degrees as we did. I mean, dramatically
Mhm.
different numbers or ratios of population. And so while today, with today's technology, college is backward. In the 40s and 50s, it was not. It was right up to speed with what was going on in the world. Um, it's a little bit of a non sequitur, but I think that you know it gives proof a little bit that an educated population is good for society.
Truly. And that's, I feel we've talked in the past about what what is the current value of a university degree? And for some kids, it is their stepping stone out of poverty or out of uh, difficult environments and situations. And for others, it's not, it doesn't have the value that it did a few decades ago. I think that the answer is in part that I'd like to see everyone able to
Yeah.
get higher education degrees and then choosing. There are plenty of trades that are going to survive the AI revolution that pay well. Plumbers, electricians, like these are in-person
Yeah,
jobs. It's going to be a long time before robots can take those jobs over. But
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I think that the idea of gainful employment is going to be very interesting to see how it changes.
Mhm.
I'm I'm kind of looking forward to the next 5 years. You know, some of it's going to be chaotic, but
Yeah.
but with ExoDexa, we're going to fix a lot of things, and I believe that we will get a lot smarter ourselves as we engage in this with these new tools. I think we're going to find out some things that are going to be surprising.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think it's time for, we've been tweaking education around the edges for a long time, and it still looks like it did 100 years ago when we started public education. So I think it is really time for education to catch up to the rest of the world. And I understand why it's been difficult. Like each each 4-year group that you're putting through school, that's the investment of a generation. And so getting it wrong isn't an option, but staying the course also isn't an option. We're losing all the young teachers. Within 5 years, we lose over half of the new teachers. And in part, I think because we're asking them, they're digital natives, and we're asking them to step back 20 years in technology to work inside the system. And what we're doing, I think, with ExoDexa is moving education into the current reality in terms of technology, entertainment. For me, the real interest in embedding the curriculum in a high, in a game forward video game started when my 6-year-old grandson was explaining a very elaborate world that he and his friends had created in Roblox. And I loved that he created this, they memorized it, they knew they had rules, they were playing. And I thought, like, wouldn't it be wonderful if all of that experience, all that what they were memorizing, what they were actually had long-term positive repercussions for their education? I mean, just playing the game and building rigor. I mean, that's something that's new. When my kids were young, the fear was, oh, they're playing video games, they're not going to do their homework, they're not going to, and yes, the generation that is now in their 40s grew up with video games. They were playing them all the time. So finding a way to make the game engaging enough that they want to play it on a Saturday or a Sunday that just happens to deliver valuable education.
Great. Well, remember, no grades and no grades is where we want to go.
That's right. So no ABC or 60% out of 100, none of that anymore. Just like, did you write papers to display your learning, but also in the game, if you make it to level 6 in the game, by then we know you have accomplished this, and this. Like, we know the need for testing becomes obsolete. We can do the evaluations inside the game, and the kids don't have to. I don't know about you, Nolan, but whenever there was a test at school, I was a slow student. I had dyslexia. I was not ever top of my class. And here we are.
Well, I think that we all are going to learn a lot, and that's going to be fun.
Well, I think we will call this quits and say thank you to everybody who has joined us today. Nolan, always good to see you and have these conversations. And I think next time we'll come back and talk about AI and education.
Let's do that.
All right. Thanks, everybody.